Instead, we picked a fifth option, long-term structural reform. I like to say we picked an option that thought more about the next generation than it did about the next election. I've got two sons, Matt and Alex, a junior and senior in high school, and I wanted to make sure the state I passed on to them was even greater than the one I inherited from the past. And for us, that's the real key, because you see in our case, not every state's like this, but in Wisconsin's case, the biggest single portion of our budget, overwhelmingly, is aid to local government. And having been a county executive for 8 years, where I was elected to serve the people of my county, I knew if you just passed on a cut to local governments, that would force either higher property taxes, which I didn't want, or devastating cuts there as well. So the only way to offset that, to give local governments the tools as well as the state government, was to reform one of the biggest portions of our budgets, which is compensation. And so what we did was eliminate collective bargaining for both state and local government employees for everything except base salary. And at that, we capped it at the CPI so that if times were tough, like now, we shared in the sacrifice. If times were good, our public employees got the benefit just as the rest of the taxpayers benefited. It showed our respect for the taxpayers of Wisconsin. In doing so, we empowered not only local governments as well as our state to ask for things simply like a match to our pension contribution, which nearly everybody in America does for their retirement, and to make a very modest contribution for our health insurance premium. In our case, it's 12.6%. The average taxpayer, middle-class taxpayer in my state, pays about 20 to 25% outside of government. So we did all those things, but more importantly, we allowed our local governments, particularly our school districts, to do things like bid out their health insurance, which has saved tens of millions of dollars. You see, it used to be in the past, school districts in particular had to buy their health insurance from a company owned by the teachers union. By bidding that out, by opening that process up through our reforms, school districts have saved millions and millions of dollars just by changing where they bought their health insurance from. We're able to rein in abuses of things like overtime and other excesses out there by no longer having opportunities where, in our case, some of our state employees could literally call in sick on their shift and then come back and work the next shift on overtime. Or bus drivers in places like Madison that made $150,000 or more because of overtime. Those things have all changed, and now the power is back in the hands of local officials and ultimately of the taxpayers.